My family has once again commandeered my vacation plans, this time for my golden sister, Kate, and her children. However, I've devised my own secret escape plan, and I desperately need some outside perspective and advice from Reddit on this decades-long family predicament. Growing up in a seemingly ordinary suburban Massachusetts family, I, 35F, have always grappled with a specific, unbalanced dynamic. Kate, 42F, has perpetually held the golden child title. Our home has been a shrine to Kate's achievements for as long as I can remember, with every wall showcasing her accomplishments and every conversation revolving around her life. My parents were too preoccupied with Kate's college interviews to even purchase a cake for my 10th birthday, a memory that remains vividly etched in my mind. They even attempted to repurpose Kate's leftover graduation cake, still bearing her name, as my birthday cake. Throughout my childhood, Kate's successes overshadowed every milestone in my life. My parents were barely aware of my making the honor roll in middle school, because Kate had just been selected for the debate team. They missed my award ceremony for winning a local painting competition in high school, because Kate had a college campus tour. Knowing that sharing my accomplishments would only elicit a perfunctory, "That's nice, dear." Before the conversation inevitably shifted back to Kate, I learned to celebrate my achievements privately in my room. Even our possessions reflected the family's skewed priorities. Kate always had the latest technology, fashionable clothes, and everything she required for her numerous extracurricular pursuits. My room, in contrast, was furnished with hand-me-downs. When I expressed an interest in music lessons, I was given Kate's discarded violin. It was too big for me, and when I requested a properly sized one, my mother retorted, "We've already spent so much on Kate's piano lessons this year." This pattern continued throughout high school. I had to rely on borrowed library books, while Kate received private tutoring for her SATs. My parents took out a loan to buy Kate a car for college, while I was advised to take the bus. Every financial decision, family discussion, and holiday revolved around Kate's needs and desires. College was particularly challenging. While Kate attended a prestigious university with full parental support, my parents could only agree to cover half of my tuition at a public school. "We're still paying off Kate's student loans," they explained. "You'll have to figure out the rest yourself." I worked 2 part-time jobs throughout college, often falling asleep over my textbooks. Meanwhile, Kate embarked on her career at a position secured through our parents' connections. 7 years ago, Kate got married, and everything changed, or rather, intensified. The wedding consumed our family's attention for an entire year. My parents took out another loan for Kate's dream wedding, featuring a designer dress, a lavish venue, and over 300 guests. I overheard them one night in the kitchen, insisting that nothing was too good for Kate's special day. Need I mention I was, of course, her maid of honor? I was expected to organize bridal showers, plan an extravagant bachelorette party, and handle any arising emergencies. "Don't be selfish, Elizabeth," my mother would say when I expressed my stress from juggling these responsibilities with my full-time job. "This is your sister's special time." Then came the twins. Our parents were overjoyed, despite still repaying the wedding loan. They contributed to the down payment on a house near them, spending their retirement funds, the same funds they claimed were inaccessible when I needed help with college. "This is different," they declared while signing the documents. "This is for our grandchildren." And who became the default babysitter? You guessed it. It started with occasional babysitting requests. "Elizabeth, could you watch the boys for a few hours?" Which morphed into a weekly commitment, and then extended to evenings whenever they had appointments. My parents endorsed this arrangement, stating, "This is what family does." Kate and her husband Jack, 43M, simply assumed I would always be available to help. The twins, now energetic 7-year-olds, are exhausting. Every weekend, Kate unexpectedly drops them off at my small apartment, usually with the excuse of needing me time or having important errands. The boys wreak havoc, turning my place upside down. When I try to set boundaries or ask for advance notice, Kate bursts into tears about being overwhelmed, and my parents chastise me for not being supportive. I've been working long hours to build my career in marketing, and I recently received a promotion that would involve longer hours and more travel. When I brought this up at a family dinner, hoping for a constructive discussion, my mother responded, "But what about the twins?" "Your sister needs you here," Kate chimed in. "You can't take that job, Elizabeth. Who will help me with the boys?" Expecting congratulations for my recent promotion, it seemed my time, career, and life were utterly irrelevant. "Family should come first, Elizabeth," my father stated. "Your sister has 2 children to look after," my mother always chimed in. "You don't know what tired really means." When I attempted to explain how overwhelming it all was, Kate accused me of envying her life and children. "You're just bitter because you're still single," she retorted, as if my marital status were the sole determinant of my worth. After a particularly taxing weekend with the twins, culminating in a damaged laptop and permanent marker stains on my couch, I decided I desperately needed a vacation. I found a small, unassuming resort in Florida, perfect for a quiet getaway. When I mentioned it at our weekly family dinner, my mother's eyes lit up. "Oh, that's perfect. We should all go together. The twins would love the beach." Before I could object, Kate was already making plans. "You can take the boys swimming while Jack and I have some alone time," she declared, as if my vacation was naturally destined to become their childcare opportunity. My parents, of course, offered to upgrade my reservation to a larger resort where they would all stay, completely disregarding the fact that this was supposed to be my vacation. They began planning activities and excursions centered around the twins' preferences. That night, lying in bed, I made a decision that would change everything. I booked a separate resort on a quiet, secluded island. I kept the change of plans secret, silently making arrangements, requesting time off work, packing discreetly, and ensuring my emergency fund was accessible. I knew it was deceptive, but I couldn't bear it any longer. At the airport, we would part ways. They to Florida, me to my secret destination. I disabled location sharing and braced myself for the inevitable fallout. Yes, I knew there would be drama. Yes, I knew they would be upset. But for the first time in my life, I was choosing to prioritize myself. For 35 years, I'd been the dependable sister, the perfect daughter, the ever-available aunt. I'd sacrificed my social life, my weekends, and my own needs to meet my family's expectations. I missed out on dating opportunities because I was always babysitting. I declined career advancements that might interfere with their needs. I put my personal life on hold to be there for them whenever they needed me. I wasn't just escaping a vacation. I was escaping a lifetime of being taken advantage of. I plan to use this as a turning point to set clear boundaries with my family and perhaps even take a complete break from them. I was tired of always being the one to sacrifice, the family's emotional crutch, the dependable fallback plan. Was I overreacting, Reddit? Was it wrong to want something for myself? Or should I just go along with their plans and accept my designated role in the family? Update. Thank you all for your support and advice. A lot has happened since my last post, and I want to share how it unfolded. The airport day, while going according to plan, was more emotionally charged than I anticipated. I arrived early and, from behind the glass walls of the terminal, watched my family arrive. Jack checking their booking details, my parents buzzing with excitement, Kate managing the twins and luggage. I quietly slipped through security for my own flight just as they started toward their check-in counter. As soon as they realized I wasn't at their gate, my phone began to vibrate. First, the confused texts, "Where are you?" "We're at gate B12. Then the worried ones. "Elizabeth, are you okay? Has something happened?" Finally, the angry ones. "How could you do this to us?" The boys are in tears. I turned off my phone before boarding. I felt a strange mix of liberation and guilt, a guilt I'd carried for most of my life. But the freedom? That was exhilarating and new. My secluded island resort was a world away from the crowded tourist destination they were headed to. The moment I stepped onto the beach, years of tension melted away. No twins to babysit, no family drama to navigate, no schedule to adhere to. Just me, the ocean, and pure freedom. Admittedly, the first 2 days were difficult. I kept checking the time, thinking, the twins would be having lunch now, or Kate would usually need help with bedtime around this hour. Decades of conditioning are hard to break. But something shifted on the third day. I started exploring things I'd always wanted to do but never had the time for. I took a surfing lesson, silly and fun, and loved every minute. I joined a beachside yoga class and connected with a group of solo travelers. I even went on an impromptu dinner date with an interesting man I met at the resort's coffee shop. It was just a casual dinner, but it reminded me that I could have a life outside of my family. Turning my phone back on after 5 days was the real test. There were dozens of missed calls and messages, voicemails, over 300, text messages, and 147 missed calls. My mother even called my workplace to report a family emergency. Luckily, I'd already informed my boss I was taking vacation time. Some of the voicemails were relayed to me. My mother's tone swung from concern to rage to manipulation. "Elizabeth, how could you do this to your family? The twins are inconsolable. Did we raise you like this?" Kate's messages were even worse. "You've ruined everything. The lads keep asking for Auntie Lizzie." I can't handle meetings on my own, so Jax had to cut us short. But one message struck a different chord. It was from my father, and for once, he sounded uncertain. "Elizabeth, please just let us know you're safe. I don't understand what's going on, but..." I'd never heard him speak to me without immediately jumping to Kate's defense or pressuring me to do more. I sent a single text to our family group chat. "I'm on vacation, and I'm safe. I'll contact you when I get back. Please give me space." Then I muted the chat and went back to enjoying myself. The next 5 days were transformative. Besides reading bedtime stories to the twins, I read 3 novels. I had uninterrupted conversations with other guests every evening. I watched the sunset instead of rushing home to help with baths and bedtime. I even started journaling, a way to process years of bottled-up emotions. Last night, I had dinner at a small beachside eatery. The older waitress, seeing I was alone, asked if I was enjoying my solitude. After I briefly explained my situation, she said something that resonated. "Family is important, honey, but not at the expense of your own well-being. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is put yourself first." When I returned home, I didn't go straight to my apartment. I needed time to prepare for the inevitable confrontation. I booked a hotel room for 2 nights. During that time, I updated my emergency contact information at work, changed the locks on my apartment, and most importantly, wrote down my boundaries. My family discovered I was back when I accidentally liked a coworker's social media post. Within hours, my mother and Kate were at my building, relentlessly buzzing my intercom. I watched them from my hotel room window, feeling strangely detached from their dramatic display. I'm meeting them tomorrow at a neutral coffee shop, not my apartment. I know it won't be easy, but I've rehearsed what I want to say. My hands shake when I think about it, but for the first time in my life, I'm choosing myself. I know this is the right thing to do, despite the anxiety, the guilt, and the inevitable drama. I'll update again after the meeting. I'm thankful for Reddit. It gave me the courage to take this first step toward independence. Second update, the coffee shop meeting happened as planned, and it was even more intense than I anticipated. Here's how it unfolded. The meeting started civilly enough. I arrived early and chose a corner table with a clear view of the entrance and the emergency exit, a habit born from years of anticipating family blow-ups. My hands trembled so badly I could barely hold my coffee cup. My parents, Kate, and, surprisingly, Jack, all arrived together. Thankfully, no twins. Before they could launch into their rehearsed speeches, I raised my hand and said what I'd practiced. I'm setting boundaries, and they're not negotiable. The next 2 hours were a masterclass in emotional manipulation. Kate burst into tears, describing how my absence had traumatized the twins. My mother tried to guilt-trip me with, "After all we've done for you." Jack, unexpectedly, attempted to mediate, proposing a compromise where I'd only see the kids every other weekend. My father mostly sat silent and uncomfortable. The turning point came with Kate's declaration, "You're being selfish. Family means sacrifice." Something in me snapped. Calmly, but firmly, I replied, "Yes, family does mean sacrifice, but it's supposed to go both ways. When was the last time any of you sacrificed anything for me?" The silence that followed was deafening. For the first time, I laid it all out. The years of being Kate's backup babysitter, the unfair financial burdens, the constant message that my time and life weren't as valuable as theirs. I then presented them with my calendar from the past year, every weekend marked with babysitting duties, every holiday tailored to their needs. My mother tried to interrupt, saying, "But that's what aunts do." I responded with something I'd never dared to say before. "No, that's what paid babysitters do. And Kate, if you need that much help, maybe it's time to consider hiring one." The conversation shifted dramatically after that. Kate stormed out, followed by my mother. Remarkably, Jack stayed. He admitted they'd taken advantage of my availability. My father, after a long silence, said, We never meant to make you feel this way." It was something, but it wasn't an apology. When they left, I enacted my plan. I moved to a different part of the city, a new apartment. Smaller than my old place, but in a secure building with a doorman who's aware of my situation. Only my workplace and a select group of close friends have my new phone number. The hardest part wasn't the move or the logistics. It was rebuilding my life from scratch. After years of prioritizing my family, I had no real hobbies, few close relationships. I started small, signed up for pottery classes, joined a local book club, accepted dinner invitations from coworkers I'd always declined. That first weekend of genuine freedom was surreal. I did things previously unthinkable. Stayed up late, wandered through a farmer's market, spent hours browsing a bookstore. No urgent texts from Kate. No guilt-inducing calls from Mom. No last-minute babysitting requests. My family's reaction to my relocation was predictably harsh. My mother discovered my new job doesn't allow personal calls during work hours when she tried contacting me through the company switchboard. Kate even showed up at my office once, but security had been alerted. She left a tearful letter accusing me of destroying our family. The unexpected development came from Jack. He emailed me, apologizing for his role in enabling the situation. Initially, Kate resisted him taking the twins out on weekends, but she's since relented. A small, but significant change. My parents are struggling to adapt. Dad sends occasional awkward texts, trying to make conversation. Mom alternates between angry outbursts and icy silence. Last week, she left a voicemail saying, "When you're done with this rebellious phase, we'll welcome you back." She doesn't get it. This isn't a phase. This is my new reality. Without constant family interruptions, my work has improved dramatically. I'm more focused, more productive. My boss, noticing the change, put me in charge of a major new project. I'm even dating casually, taking things slow. The biggest shift has been internal. The constant low-level anxiety I'd carried for years is gone. I'm exercising regularly, eating better, sleeping soundly. My therapist, yes, I finally started therapy, says I'm recovering from what she calls chronic family stress syndrome. Last weekend, the twins sent me a gift. Handmade cards saying how much they missed me. It was bittersweet, but I held firm. I wrote them back, carefully explaining that while I loved them, I needed time to take care of myself. I had to write it, even though Kate probably won't read it to them. Yesterday, I ran into an old acquaintance. "There's a lightness about you now," she observed. "You look years younger." She's right. Despite the angry texts, the attempts at manipulation, the lingering guilt, I feel lighter, freer. Family love shouldn't feel like a prison sentence. I'm learning that real love includes respecting boundaries, acknowledging individual needs, and offering mutual support, not just one-sided sacrifice. Next week marks 1 month in my new apartment. For the first time, I'm hosting a small housewarming party. Just a few friends from pottery class, book club, and work. No expectations, no drama, no family. Just people who appreciate me for who I am. I'll update again soon. Thank you, Reddit, for giving me the courage to change my life. Update 3. It's been a transformative 3 months, and I wanted to share how things have evolved. The confrontation I'd been both dreading and anticipating finally happened last week. My father unexpectedly showed up at my work. His approach was different from Kate's emotional outbursts or my mother's previous frantic attempts. He was calm, almost resigned, when he asked if we could have lunch. We met at a quiet cafe near my office. For the first time, he truly saw me, as his daughter, not as Kate's sister or the family's backup plan. "You look healthy," he said, sounding surprised. "Happier." The unspoken acknowledgement that he hadn't noticed my unhappiness for years hung heavy between us. He came with a proposition. The family was willing to make concessions if I agreed to resume my role. "You could have every other weekend off," he offered. "They'll even pay you for your time with the twins." As if monetizing the obligation would make it more appealing. Looking at him across the table, I realized they still didn't understand. They saw my independence not as a fundamental right, but as a bargaining chip. "Dad," I said, "I'm not negotiating my freedom. I'm living it." What followed was the most honest conversation I'd ever had with my father. I explained the emotional as well as practical toll their constant focus on Kate had taken on me. I shared memories he'd either forgotten or never noticed, dismissed dreams, overlooked accomplishments, ignored birthdays. His reaction surprised me. He sat in silence for a long time, not offering the usual justifications. Finally, he said, "We thought we were doing what was best for the family. We never realized how much we were hurting you." It wasn't quite an apology, but it was the closest thing to acknowledgement I'd ever received. The real turning point came when he asked about my new life. He listened, truly listened for the first time as I talked about my pottery classes, my promotion at work, the new friends I'd made. I even showed him pictures of a vase I'd made, something I would have never done before. His response stunned me. "You seem to have built a good life for yourself, without us." There was genuine acknowledgement in his voice, and a hint of sadness. At the end of lunch, we both acknowledged that things would never be the same. He gave me my first genuine hug in years as he said goodbye. "I hope someday we can be a part of your life again," he said, "but on different terms." That meeting seemed to trigger a final wave of family backlash. My mother, upon learning about our lunch, launched a new round of emotional attacks. She's been telling relatives I'm having a breakdown and need an intervention. Kate, feeling betrayed by our father's apparent acceptance of my choices, has been posting passive-aggressive comments on social media about selfish sisters and broken families. The difference is, none of it affects me the way it used to. My new life has given me a perspective I didn't have before. I see their actions as a desperate attempt to regain control over someone who has finally found freedom. My new apartment truly feels like home now. The walls are decorated with my pottery attempts and pictures of my chosen family. Friends who value my independence and respect my boundaries. At work, I've started mentoring junior colleagues, breaking the cycle of toxic support that ensnared me for so long. The biggest change has been my relationship with time. Weekends are mine to spend as I please. I'm learning Spanish, joined a local hiking group, and I'm even seeing someone who respects and appreciates my boundaries. For the first time, I'm building a life that reflects who I am, not what my family expects me to be. Last Sunday, the twins sent me a handmade card, clearly written under supervision, filled with carefully worded pronouncements about how much they missed their aunt. In the past, this would have sent me spiraling into self-doubt and guilt. Instead, I wrote them a loving but firm letter explaining that even though I might not be as present in their daily lives, my love for them hadn't changed, and that sometimes grown-ups need to take care of themselves. My therapist says I'm exhibiting what she calls post-traumatic growth, not just moving on from the past, but building something stronger and healthier in its place. She's helped me understand that I'm not responsible for fixing my family's dysfunction. The latest development happened yesterday. Jack, Kate's husband, contacted me. He told me my stand had prompted changes in their household. Not to blame me, but they've finally hired part-time help with the twins, and he's become a more active parent. He thinks it's healthier for everyone, though Kate is having a hard time adjusting. As I write this final update, I'm sitting in my home office, preparing for a business trip next week, something I could never have done in my old life. On the wall behind my desk is a framed quote that perfectly captures my journey. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is set yourself free. Thank you to everyone who has supported me and followed my story. You gave me the courage to choose myself. If you're wondering if you're being selfish for wanting your own life, if you're in a similar situation, know this. Choosing freedom is not selfish. Prioritizing your well-being is not unkind. Setting boundaries is not betrayal. I don't know what the future holds for my relationship with my family. Maybe someday we'll find a different kind of connection, one built on mutual respect, not obligation. In the meantime, I'm focused on nurturing the life I've built, my friendships, my passions, my career, and most importantly, my sense of self. This isn't just an ending, it's a beginning. And for the first time in my life, I'm excited about what comes next. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.